Hello and welcome to this first episode of the study group for the CBAP exam. So I do want to share a little more information about what the CBAP exam is all about, and as well as provide a breakdown of the three exams and layers of the exam. So what is CBAP? So CBAP essentially is the Certified Business Analyst Professional Certificate that's provided or offered by the IIBA, which is an international organization for business analysts. The CBAP is recommended for BA professionals. That work experience is about 7,500 hours, which translates to 5 years of work experience. CBAP requires 35 hours of PDUs. It's case-based questions are newly introduced in CBAP. In CBAP, there are only 120 questions, and there's case-based and scenario-based questions. The case-based questions are essentially longer sort of questions, and there's 4 or 5 questions tied to the one question. Scenario-based are very what-if scenario questions, shorter in length. Of the 120 questions, there's about 40 to 50 that are which is 35 to 40% are likely to be case-based, and rest 70 to 80 questions are likely to be scenario-based. The CBAP exam focuses, gives heavy weightage on requirements analysis and design definition. And then they give emphasis on strategy analysis, requirements lifecycle management, solution evaluation, business analysis planning and monitoring, and elicitation and collaboration is next. So as mentioned, there's a mix of questions. You have case and scenario-based questions, and scenarios are short cases. I would highly recommend leaving your experience behind in terms of what you've done in different situations. The Bevel has a specific way of having you answer those questions, but certainly keep that in mind in terms of when you're answering questions. How do you apply for the CBAP exam? There is a little bit of a process. I would highly recommend going to IIBA's website, and they do have a CBAP handbook. Follow the guide and document your work experience, tasks you've performed, how many hours have you performed those tasks. So it does get a little bit rigorous, but it's all worth it. At the end, you are needed to have specific number of professional development units. Within our Facebook group, there's folks that kind of post their trainings on the group. So I would recommend considering those guys in terms of your PDUs if you don't have them. The application fee is about $125. And in addition to that, there is an exam fee if you are a member, which is at $325 and $450 for non-members. The CCBA certification is a second-level business analysis certification from the IIBA. CCBA is recommended for more so mid-level BA professionals, and the work experience requirement is 3,750 hours, which translates to about 2.5 years of work experience. The Ccb exam structure holds weightage on requirements analysis and design definition. The next one is requirements lifecycle management. After that, you have strategy analysis and business analysis planning and monitoring. You do have a heavy emphasis on elicitation and collaboration, as well as on solution evaluation. The CCB exam is longer than the CBAP exam. It's about 3 hours long, 130 multiple choice questions. The questions are scenario-based. They are competency-based and aligned with the Bevel guide. ECBA is more so for entry-level professionals, those that don't have that experience, such as new graduates, individuals entering the business analysis profession. You have to have 21 hours of verifiable Bevel coursework in the last 4 years. References are not required, though they do ask that you sign a code of conduct, which is required. The exam structure is as follows: is 50 questions, is 1 hour of remote online proctored exam. It is competency-based. There is no negative marking. Perspectives are not part of the examination. The BABOK, the ECBA exam focus for this one is on the requirements analysis and design. Elicitation and Collaboration, Requirements Lifecycle Management. There's a heavy emphasis on those. And then you have the rest of the chapters. Techniques does come in at 17.5%, but it is sprinkled, techniques is sprinkled across all the knowledge area chapters. So that being said, let's move on to the next sort of chapter, which is the introduction to the BABOK guide. So the introduction chapter covers things like, well, what is business analysis? Who is a business analyst? So the BABOK guide, in terms of what is business analysis, basically says that business analysis is a practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. Business analysis enables an enterprise to articulate needs and the rationale for change and to design and describe solutions that can deliver value. So business analysis is performed on a variety of initiatives within an enterprise. Initiatives may be strategic, tactical, or operational. When we say strategic, it's more so at a level of the organization or the enterprise level. Tactical happens when it comes down to the actual work being done. And operational is more so of a business sort of a function. Business analysis may be performed within the boundaries of a project or throughout the enterprise evolution and continuous improvement. It can be used to understand the current state, to define the future state, and to determine the activities required to move from the current to the future state. So, in a nutshell, business analysis is the practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. Who is a business analyst? So a business analyst is any person who performs business analysis tasks described in the BABOK guide, no matter their job title or organizational role. Business analysts are responsible for discovering, synthesizing, and analyzing information from a variety of sources within an enterprise, including tools, processes, documentation, and stakeholders. The business analyst is responsible for eliciting the actual needs of stakeholders, which frequently involves investigating, clarifying the expressed desires in order to determine underlying issues and causes. In short, business analysts define needs, they recommend changes, and they work with stakeholders to kind of guide them through that change. As an example, I know throughout the videos that we put out on YouTube, the case study we've used is that there is a pizza joint, and due to COVID, the pizza store or restaurant had to be moved online. Now that is a change. They do have a website. However, they don't have the payment functionality on the website. They don't even have ordering capability on the website. So in terms of the business analyst staff or someone that's in that role, they would go in there and essentially work with the management or with the owner to really hone in on understanding, well, what is a change? What is the current state? What do they want to see for future state? And how do they in effect work through that change process? So that's kind of the role of a business analyst, is to work through that change. So common job titles for people that perform business analysis is you have business systems analysts, business architects, data analysts, enterprise analysts, and there's a lot more to this list. Now, how is the BABOK structured, right? So think of BABOK as having three pillars. The first pillar, you have knowledge area. The second pillar is perspectives, and then the third pillar is supporting chapter. Within the knowledge areas is 6 knowledge areas, and we're going to go through those in details, but think of those as your core elements or tasks that are needed for a business analyst to perform their job. Perspectives are more so understanding, well, what are some traits or characteristics that a being needs to function. Could be communication skills, could be other sort of skill sets. The other piece to perspectives is also understanding the various types of industries, right? So you have the IT, you have business process management sort of roles, and you have business intelligence as a perspective. You could have AI as another perspective. So it's really those perspectives and understanding, well, how does business analysis fit into those perspectives? You do have techniques as well. So techniques is sprinkled right across all knowledge areas. It's an important chapter. Then you have a supporting chapter where it goes through key concepts and understanding what those key concepts are. Now, the structure of the Bevel guide. So you have the knowledge areas that we spoke about: business analysis, planning and monitoring, elicitation and collaboration, requirements lifecycle management, strategy analysis, requirements analysis and design, and solution evaluation. The first piece of it is business analysis, planning and monitoring. What is it? It describes the tasks that business analysts perform to organize and coordinate the efforts of business analysts and stakeholders. These tasks produce outputs that are used as key inputs and guidelines for the other tasks throughout the Bevel guide. The Bevel guide does not put a lot of emphasis on planning, the word planning, but they definitely do talk a lot about approaches and how to approach certain things. Just something to keep in mind as you move along. Elicitation and collaboration describes the tasks that business analysts perform to prepare for and conduct elicitation activities and confirm the results obtained. It also describes the communication with the stakeholders once the business analysis information is assembled and the ongoing collaboration with them throughout the business analysis activities. The requirements lifecycle management describes the tasks that BAs perform in order to manage and maintain requirements and design information from inception to retirement. These tasks describe establishing meaningful relationships between related requirements and designs, and assessing, analyzing, and gaining consensus and propose changes to requirements and design. Strategy analysis describes the BA work that must be performed to collaborate with stakeholders in order to identify a need of strategic or tactical importance. So really it goes from understanding current state, future state, what are the risks involved in going from current to future state, and what should that change strategy look like? The next one is requirements analysis and design. It describes the tasks that BAs perform to structure and organize requirements discovered during elicitation activities. So really it takes the information that's gathered as part of elicitation collaboration. They validate and verify requirements, and to the point that you've created a solution in terms of your design. So that's kind of the scope of requirements analysis and design. And then you have your solution evaluation. It describes the tasks that business analysts perform to assess the performance of and value delivered by a solution in use by the enterprise. The Bevel also has a business analysis core concept model. So they take those 6 knowledge areas, put them together, and essentially explain the relationship between each of them. So they're saying, yes, there's a relationship between elicitation and collaboration, business analysis, planning and monitoring, as well as relation between lifecycle management and business analysis, planning and monitoring. And within the sphere of the development or the delivery of solution, you have strategy analysis, requirements analysis, and design definition, as well as solution evaluation. This is always on the outer core for elicitation and collaboration, those 3 knowledge areas. And the inner core is really looks at the gamut from right from inception of kind of the change to the delivery of a solution to enable that change. So business analysis key concepts, there's other chapters, and this kind of goes through the other sections of the Bevel guide. You have business analysis key concepts, which defines the key terms needed to understand all other content, concepts, and ideas within the Bevel guide. Underlying competencies provide the description of the behaviors, characteristics, knowledge, and personal qualities that support the effective practice of business analysis. Techniques provides a means to perform business analysis tasks. The techniques described in the Bevel guide are intended to cover the most common and widespread techniques practiced within the business analysis community. And perspectives describe various views of business analysis. So we mentioned business process management. We mentioned in BI, and how do those perspectives help BAs work in order to kind of achieve certain changes. So within the knowledge area chapters, you'll notice that they're broken down in a specific way. So each knowledge area is split up into different tasks, and each task has a purpose, a description, an input, an element, guidelines and tools, techniques, stakeholders, and output. So it's always structured in a certain way. Underlying competencies, which that's a separate chapter, it gets into behaviors and characteristics of a BA, is broken down into a specific structure, which is purpose, definition, and effectiveness measures. Techniques gets down to a separate chapter, which is broken down. Each technique is actually broken down into purpose, description, elements, usage consideration. And perspectives is broken down into change scope, business analysis scope, methodologies, approaches and techniques, underlying competencies, impact on knowledge area. So let me pull up the Bevel guide so you understand what is going on with the structure. So this is chapter 1 of the Bevel guide. So now if we go down to, say, for instance, chapter 4, which is one of the knowledge areas, you'll notice, as an example, the way the chapter is broken down is you have elicitation and collaboration. But within that, you have different tasks. So in this case, you're going to prepare for the station. Within that task, you have purpose, you have description, inputs, elements, and guidelines and tools, techniques, stakeholders, and outputs. The next task is conduct elicitation, where you have purpose, description, the same sort of flow. Now, let me take you to another example here. So if we go to chapter 9, which covers techniques, chapter 10. So as an example, reviews is a technique. The way it's structured is purpose, description, elements, purpose, description, elements, and then it goes down to usage considerations. Okay, so those are the sorts of structures that you want to keep in mind as you're reading through the Bevel guide. So I hope this has been helpful. Please do consider joining our email list, which is on baknowledgeshare.com, to receive monthly newsletter. Do consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, as well as joining the BA Analytics and Community Facebook group page. The links have been provided below. Also, I will be opening up a WhatsApp group, so you guys can join the WhatsApp group if you are interested in collaborating as far as studying for the exam. That being said, until next time, next week, actually, see you then. Thanks.